Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Mood Swings with Liv Moods, version from Hawaii. And this has been my first time in Hawaii. It's beautiful here. I'm obsessed with it here. That being said, I have been very sick ever since arriving here. I have been sick the entire trip. I thought I was getting better. I woke up this morning. I'm actually worse than I was yesterday. So hopefully you guys can hear me and the wind's not crazy. We are outside again in this beautiful island. It has been very nice to be here this week, given everything that has happened. I'm not going to get too much into that because it is exceptionally devastating, just everything that's going on. Thoughts and prayers with Evergreen High School. Of course, everyone, I hope they didn't, but I'm sure most people saw what happened with Charlie Kirk. It's just a very violent and dangerous world we live in, and I am praying for peace for everybody. And being on this beautiful island has definitely reminded me that there is peace that still exists a little bit, so we're going to hold on to that. And of course, we've got sports, which usually unites us as one. And so we're going to just talk some sports and try to kind of escape from the world in which we live, which is a very scary one. Like I said, I'm sorry I sound horrible. If I get up to blow my nose, please excuse me. I do not feel good at all, but had to give you guys an episode of Mood Swings. Of course, given all things that have happened, we have a week 1 in the NFL season under our belts. You guys already heard me talk a little bit on Monday's episode about the Broncos and how it felt to be at that game, some of the frustrations we've got there. But since then, we've had some more football. Obviously, last night, Commanders versus Packers. And I've seen in the world of social media, just a lot of overreactions, right? And I think that's normal given where we're at in the season, because you go into week 1 with the expectations that we as fans have set or media members have set based on prior years, based on new additions in the offseason, based on expectations for offenses with new coaches, you name it. We create these expectations based off of what kind of predictions, really. And then you get to week 1, and in week 1, you're either wildly disappointed or you're really, really hyped. And therefore, there's a lot of overreactions. I can tell you right now, as a Broncos fan, is my sound okay? Are you guys is it driving you nuts that there is wind? I hope you guys can't hear it a ton. But anyway, I'm going to keep talking. I think overreactions are very normal. I mean, I certainly have them right now as a Broncos fan. Is Bo Nix the truth? Should we be worried about this offense yet again? But then I have to remind myself, last season, the first few games of the season, kind of eerily similar to what we saw last season compared to this season in their season opener versus the Titans. Very similar things happening there in terms of the offense really slow, the defense cutting them a lot of breaks, the defense kind of having to step up and be. Cam Mingo says, I can hear you. Thank you, Cam. I'm glad you can hear me. I do sound stuffy, though. I do apologize, but I'm glad you can hear me. So yeah, I do think it's natural to have overreactions at this stage of the season, just given the hype that we go into the season with, and then what we actually get to see transpire when football starts to be played. Now, the reason we call it overreactions, though, is I'm already seeing on my X account, the Packers are going to win it all. Are we sure we can say that just yet? Are we sure that we can crown the Packers this early in the season? Now, that being said, there's going to be a couple of other overreactions that we talk about, but yeah, one of them is the Packers. People believe this is the team that can do it. This is the team that is going to win it all. Now, later in the show, I'm going to give you my Where Do We Stand weekly standings, where I am going to rank the top 5 best teams in the NFL right now. And so it wouldn't feel right to not give the Packers the credit that they so gratefully deserve. You know, they do deserve credit. They look like a very complete football team right now. But again, winning it all, did we already forget what Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills did the other night versus one of the best teams in the NFL in the Baltimore Ravens? It just feels a little bit of an overreaction to say the Packers are winning it all this year. We're only 1 week into the NFL season, technically 2 weeks because the Packers just played their second game. We're going to get into the the Green Bay Packers a little bit more later when I give my where do we stand standings, but that is one of the overreactions. One of the overreactions is the Packers are the team to win the Super Bowl this year. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I don't know if that is something that I can confidently say just yet. Okay, there's a couple more overreactions that I want to talk about. It kind of feels right to maybe bring up Danny Dimes, although Danny Dimes really did put on a really great performance in week 1, so much so that I made a joke and said that he looked like Tom Brady out there. He really did. He played exceptionally well. Now, I kind of jokingly said Danny Dimes is revived. This is a new and improved version of Danny Dimes, but at the end of the day, he really just has weapons that he can utilize. Now, do I foresee Danny Dimes playing that well every single week? No, I don't. The reality is Danny Dimes was playing an exceptionally broken and horribly coached and just hot mess express Miami Dolphins team that definitely made it a little bit easier for them to win. And I'm not downplaying what Danny Dimes did. Please don't mishear me, because I am too very impressed by what he was able to do in week 1. But that was versus a team that, just looks like they are not going to be playing good football anytime soon. Yeah, the Miami Dolphins, to me, are a team that kind of needs to hit the refresh button and hit it ASAP. Mike McDaniel likely won't be the coach there much longer. Wouldn't be surprised if you see Tyreek Hill potentially going back to the Kansas City Chiefs. I could see it, yeah, because the Miami Dolphins are a mess. So I'm not downplaying Danny Dimes being exceptional in week 1, because he was, but seeing him against a Denver Broncos defense, perhaps in week 2, may give us a different story, may give us a more accurate read on what Danny Dimes is going to bring this season. So again, feels like a little bit of an overreaction there, just given Danny Dimes did play against the Miami Dolphins and they are a hot mess. So I'm not like fully set on, Danny Dimes being a truther. Only because it's kind of getting windy out here, you guys. I know you might hear those chairs clanking. Hopefully the one that I'm sitting in isn't the one that flies away. I think we're okay. But anyway, Danny Dimes is another overreaction that I think we just need to maybe cool it for a second. I think he's great. I'm excited for him because honestly, he's really easy to root for, but I just don't know if I'm there yet, given that there's a lot of other things going on here. Josh Allen, back-to-back MVPs, perhaps, ? That's kind of another conversation I think we're already having here. Excuse me. Hi, English is hard. This is a conversation we're already having based on what Josh Allen did versus the Baltimore Ravens. And honest to goodness, you guys, I'm just making sure this doesn't fly away. Honest to goodness, you guys, I think this is a fair overreaction a little bit. I do think it's obviously way too early to be having that conversation. Josh Allen for MVP after just, we're entering week 2 here in the NFL season. It feels a little extreme to go there yet. That being said, what we saw from Josh Allen is him just building on what he's already proven to us many times before. That is a really tough thing to do when you're so talented and you set the bar so high, to not only be able to match that expectation that you've set, but to exceed it is really stinking impressive. And Josh Allen continues to show that he knows how to win football games. And that's huge. That really is. So again, it does feel like an overreaction given how early it is in the season. It does feel like, okay, do we crown him of this just yet? No, you don't. It's literally, we're entering week 2. You do not know who the MVP is. Now, if Josh Allen continues to play the way he did in week 1 through the rest of the season, yeah, feeling pretty solid about him as an MVP pick for sure, but does feel a little early. I think what really helped him though in getting some of this overreaction, overhype so early in the season is that he did play one of the best teams in the NFL. He did in the Baltimore Ravens, and he did what Josh Allen does, and that's win football games, and I have trust issues with the Buffalo Bills when it comes to the postseason run, but the MVP is a regular season award. So I'm not crowning the Buffalo Bills of winning a Super Bowl. But I can say, of all the overreactions happening right now, you really could make a very solid case for Josh Allen to win back-to-back MVPs based on what you saw in week 1. So to me, it's an overreaction that is one that I don't actually think is that much of an overreaction. It's just the timing of it is like, okay, let's cool it. I'm trying to think if there's any more overreactions. I think I was chatting with my producer earlier. We were talking about the Lions. Are the Lions cooked without Ben Johnson? I've been giving Ben Johnson a lot of credit for what I think and hope he's going to do with the Chicago Bears. So maybe there's a chance that the Lions are a little cooked, but I just I refuse to believe that the Lions are a team that's not going to be able to make some noise given their roster, given their talent on offense. Here's the deal about it. I think it's more of a reflection, the Packers defense, than it is the Lions regressing offensively. I think this Packers defense is legit. I mean, they've slowed down now in 2 weeks of football already, two of the hottest offenses from last season. So to me, more of a credit there to the Green Bay Packers defense than it is shading the Lions. I don't know, guys. I'm not there yet. But what we're going to see here pretty soon is the Lions actually facing Ben Johnson versus the Chicago Bears. And I sadly did take Bears money line. As you guys know, listen, here's the deal about it. JJ McCarthy. Speaking of Bears, JJ McCarthy actually ruins lives. Only mine, maybe, actually. Only my life, because I decided to fade the Vikings and take Bears money line. Was it my smartest decision? No, but did I really actually feel good and confident about that bet? I did. I don't place bets that I don't like. This was truly a bet that I wanted to place, that I felt confident about. JJ McCarthy, though, named NFC Player of the Week. Am I hearing this correctly? Am I hearing correctly that JJ McCarthy named NFC Player of the Week? Listen, I'm not shading him at all because I watched this game. I'm not saying JJ McCarthy didn't do what he needed to do. He did. He really stepped things up, but I don't know, Player of the Week. I feel like, to Cam Mingo's point here in the comments, I actually feel like the Bears kind of choked that one away, while also JJ McCarthy stepping up and playing a little bit better. So I wouldn't just single-handedly give JJ McCarthy all the praise in this one. And I don't know, of all the teams in the NFC, I don't know if I would. I guess maybe you crown JJ McCarthy Player of the Week in the NFC, but it just seems a little much. And I think we went into this season hyping JJ McCarthy a little too much. I didn't, but a lot of people did. And so are we already kind of doing a little bit too much of the glazing here with JJ McCarthy after one good week? And it was a comeback. He wasn't actually playing well in the first half of that game. So I don't know. Feels like there were more mistakes on the Bears' end rather than like really great moments by JJ McCarthy. So maybe that's why I'm feeling like there's a bit of an overreaction here, naming him Player of the Week, because it honestly feels like, who you name Player of the Week is the Bears. That's who JJ McCarthy needs to thank in his speech. Shout out Bears. Shout out to the Bears for dropping this one down the toilet because, hey, I'm 1-0, So I don't know. I just it feels a little excessive to be giving him Player of the Week, but I digress. Shout out JJ McCarthy. Happy for you, of course. And again, this was a guy that in last year's preseason was really showing some very promising stuff. We were like, oh, okay. Then you give Sam Darnold a chance, and then it's like, oh, bye, Sam. We're sick of you. We're done. Thanks for everything you did, but it wasn't enough. Sadly, that's really the truth of it. That is the truth of it. When you've got a guy like Justin Jefferson and you're wasting generational talent, it is a waste unless you win it all. It just is, right? Like, you're not satisfied with a Justin Jefferson on your team. You're not satisfied with making the playoffs and that being. Do you guys hear those roosters? Let me tell you something about these effing chickens. I actually jokingly have told people that I think I got the bird flu out here, and let me tell you why. Day one of being here, I felt fine. I'm sitting eating my acai bowl at a little picnic table here in the cute island of Hawaii. Okay. I'm minding my effing business. This is what really gets me here, because I was minding my effing business. All of a sudden, this chicken, mind you, at this little breakfast place, there's signs that say, beware of chicken, beware of chicken. I'm like, yeah. I'm not going to feed them. I'm not going to get near them. I don't really F with birds like that. Like, to be honest, birds to me feel like a government project. I don't know. They're very robotic. They're creepy. I don't like their feet. I don't like birds. I don't F with birds at all. Okay. Here's the deal though. I'm sitting at this picnic table, minding my effing business, eating my acai bowl. This chicken jumps onto the picnic table, onto it, runs, puts its whole face into my acai bowl, grabs a piece of strawberry and takes off. Now, What would you have done? The probably the better option would have been to throw that bowl away and to go get a new one. I didn't do that. I actually ate the acai bowl. I picked around where I thought the bird had put its beak, but the reality is I went to sleep that night and I said, if I got some sort of cross-contamination from that chicken, I will probably get sick from that. What do you know it, guys? I woke up and I did some research. Bird flu symptoms, like 24 to 48 hours later, that's what happened. 24 hours later, I felt like SHIT. I did. So I've been making a little running joke here on the trip that I got bird flu from those violent Hawaiian chickens. You see? I mean, they're just like, they start at 3 a.m. and they do not stop. They are relentless. They are psychotic. So anyway, I'm feeling okay, but the deal is I do think potentially bird flu here. I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense. So there you have it. Okay. So we've gone through now the little overreactions that I feel like aren't overreactions because we're just going based off of what we saw. But because it's so early, yes, they do feel like overreactions. Let's get into my where do we stand weekly standings, because this is where we're going to talk a little bit about these teams that I think are worth kind of overreacting a little bit. And again, I'm about to contradict myself. Guys, I might blow away. That's the thing about it, That's the thing about it. I might blow away over this balcony. Okay, let's get into it. Weekly standings. We're going to go 5-1, actually. And it's going to be so funny because you're going to be like, Liv, you put this team in the overreaction category, and yet you're still giving them credit. It is true. I've never been one to not contradict myself. I do that quite often, but at least, again, you guys know how Liv Moods is. She's self-aware. That's one thing you can never take away from her. She is a self-aware woman. At 5, let's go with the Rams. Let's go with the Los Angeles Rams at 5, being the 5th best team in the NFL right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Matthew Stafford, that's why. And there's weapons on this team that if they stay healthy, this is a force to be reckoned with, okay? I liked what this defense was able to do. I really did. I think the defense has a lot of promise, but more importantly, Matthew effing Stafford playing his ASS off. I just don't know. I don't think there's ever going to be a time really, truly, when Matthew Stafford is throwing the football and I don't have faith in that team. He, to me, is one of the most reliable quarterbacks in the league and still one of the best, if we're being honest. If we're looking at this from a consistency standpoint, reliability standpoint, Matthew Stafford is up there, folks. Okay, so I really like Rams at 5. 5th best team right now. Okay, their defense showed up. And had some really, really big plays. And then you've got Matthew Stafford, who was doing Matthew Stafford-esque things. They were able to get a win over the Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans are a team that I actually kind of anticipated a little bit of regression from this season. That being said, CJ Stroud had a little sophomore slump last year. And I think the hope and the prayer is that you get him out of that. But Matthew Stafford just, again, consistency, reliability. 21 completions on 29 attempts, 245 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. I mean, come on, you really love to see it. And the defense, fumble recoveries. I mean, you name it, they were doing it. They were just playing really well. And I think that's what you get when you get a well-coached, consistent team that's got a quarterback that is still exceptionally reliable. So I've got the Rams at 5. Okay. As for 4, let's move on to 4. We've got the Eagles at 4, and the Eagles aren't that much higher on my list. You could argue they won the Super Bowl. They brought everybody back. They're starting their season 1-0, but it got a little too close for comfort with me, to be honest with you, versus the Cowboys. And I'm just not convinced or sold on the Cowboys being a threat at all. So to me, that should have been an absolute domination by the Philadelphia Eagles. And quite frankly, it was not. So I'm not like the biggest fan of that performance by them. Again, a win is a win. Shout out to them, good on them. But I need a little more from the Eagles. Now, Jalen Carter obviously didn't play the majority of that game due to his spitting problem. So you expect a little bit more from the Eagles moving forward. Is Jalen Hurts going to have that type of season, where he's proving that he's a dual threat quarterback? He can air it out as much as he can use his legs. We're seeing that a lot with these quarterbacks, okay? And we're going to get into this as I get a little closer to my number 1 here. But yeah, I've got the Eagles at 4. They got the job done. They won the game. But It wasn't perfect. It certainly was not perfect, and you'd like to see more from them moving forward because that was the Cowboys. And I'm sorry, but I just am not scared of the Cowboys. And maybe I should be. Maybe that's part of my problem, but I'm just not. So there you have it. Okay, at 3, the Ravens. Sad but true. The Ravens really could have been number 1 this week in my weekly standings for my Where Do We Stand segment because I am a Lamar Jackson truther, and sue me for it because I don't really, I was joking the other day and I said, I will not believe in football if Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Super Bowl in this era of football. I just don't think I will. Like, I want this so bad for him. The reality is he got bumped down a little on this list this week because he got beat. Not Lamar Jackson specifically, but the Ravens as a whole. They did. You saw Derrick Henry kind of make a boneheaded mistake and fumble the ball late. It just defense, not great by the Ravens. You can't allow Josh Allen to just absolutely embarrass you like that with very little time left on the clock. It's like, come on, guys. This was a game you pretty much had it in the bag. You did. And I'm not even making that up. That's the truth. So I don't know. I think the Ravens, to me, are a team. They're a force to be reckoned with. I think they're going to be great all season long, but week 1 proved they're beatable. Yeah. You catch them in a vulnerable spot, you can still win. It doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter how much time is left. They're beatable. You found their vulnerable moments in this game. You found their weak spot. And that weak spot is that defense, man. They got to get that together because defense wins championships. And I'm not sure the Ravens stand a chance this season if they don't get that defense figured out. So they're at 3 because I still think they're a freaking good football team. They just disappointed me a bit. I feel like a disappointed parent, Okay, at 2, the Bills. And you're probably thinking, why not 1? They beat one of the best teams in the NFL. You're right, they did. Josh Allen's phenomenal. Really, Bills are at 2, could be 1. This is interchangeable. It's a very close second here for the Bills. I really think their comeback, the nature in which the Bills won this game, just created a lot of hype and excitement around the idea that the Bills are just hungry. They're hungry. They're not backing down. They are going to take this year by storm. Josh Allen leading the charge. I mean, this is a team that you're constantly waiting for them to be that team, and for the majority of the regular season, they are. Then they get to the postseason. It's a very different story. So maybe this is the year. Maybe we see some regression from the Kansas City Chiefs, which I've already predicted. And Josh Allen doesn't have to face that roadblock. I'm going to blow away. Josh Allen doesn't have to face that roadblock that is Patrick Mahomes in the postseason this year. Maybe, just maybe. Bills at 2. Now at 1. Here she goes. Here this woman goes again. I mean, for God's sakes, Olivia, did you not start the show by saying, I think we're overreacting on the Packers? I think I did do that, actually. I think I did open the show and say, I think there's a bit of an overreaction here when it comes to the Packers this early in the season. And what do? I make them number 1 in my standings. Well, because I can. How about that? This is a very complete football team. This defense is doing exactly what it needs to do. Slow down 2 of the most explosive offenses from last season in the Lions and the Commanders. What else do you want? You've got a dual threat quarterback. He can air it out. He can run. They all can run. Okay, this is a highly athletic football team. And I think Micah Parsons just kind of gave a little bit of extra dog in this team, kind of rejuvenated that feeling of like, we could really win. And we really have faith in this guy named Jordan Love, and he really could be our guy. Well-coached team, we already knew that. The Packers, to me, are a team where, now, that being said, I actually remember week 2 of the NFL season last year. I thought the Saints were winning the Super Bowl, and that surely didn't happen. So, yes, it is very early, hence why I brought it up as an overreaction. But that being said, if you're making me rank 5 teams, and you're probably thinking, Liv, no one made you. This is your show. You wrote the rundown. You're right. Okay. I did write it, and I did want to give you my standings, and I have the Packers at 1 because they're a very complete football team. And so far, what we've seen in 2 weeks is a defense that knows how to stop explosive offenses and an offense that knows how to score. What else do you want? Isn't that, if you were to be described the perfect game of football, wouldn't it be what we've seen from the Packers the past 2 weeks? I would think so. Yeah. So liking what we're seeing from the Packers, and honest to goodness, am I in focus, y'all? I don't even think I'm in focus. Are you joking me? Oh, maybe I am. I don't know what's happening. I can't see. I truly think this bird flu has taken over my entire face and body and soul. No, guys, I don't have bird flu. I made that up. But it definitely feels, doesn't it feel like a weird coincidence that all of a sudden I feel like death and a chicken put its face in my food? It's true. It did happen. But anyway, Packers at 1 because it just feels right. And honestly, I don't know a team that's playing better than the Packers right now as a whole. You got to look at the 2 weeks we've seen from the Packers so far, everything, all things considered, who they played, all the things. Packers are up there, man. As are the Bills. I like the Bills. Ricky says, I don't care what you say. Broncos are number 1. Yeah, no, I don't think so, sadly. I don't think so. Anyway, okay, we're moving on. I believe it's now time for Driven Opinions, which is the segment of the show where I take a backseat, and the backseat is a hot seat, all gas, no brakes, on hot takes. I don't have any preparation for what Andy has provided me today in terms of prompts, questions, you name it. I have no idea. So this is presented by Landmark Lincoln. Here is Driven Opinions. All right, let's get into it. I mean, you guys can see me, right? Yeah. Okay. Everything's fine. I think. Ooh, I think you can. Anyway, we're going to get into it. Shall we get into it? And like I said, Andy created these. I have no idea what these, answers will be, or these prompts will be, these questions. I have no idea. And the only reason I didn't zoom in earlier is because it looks like I'm not wearing a shirt. Anyway, whatever. Guys, forget about it. This is what happens when I'm on vacation and I don't have Andy near me to fix all of my problems. Okay, Andy, I'm ready for the first one. Let's get into it. What does she have for me today? If you had to live in one stadium/arena for a year, which one would it be? Could be any sport. Oh, wow. Live in a stadium/arena for a year. Feels like I have to do MSG, right? Because that's where there's a lot of things happening. Like they host a lot of events, a lot of art. You're going to probably see your favorite artist have a concert there at some point, because that is like, once you've made it to MSG, you've made it, I've also never been to a game at MSG, and I've always wanted to, because I just feel like that's an atmosphere that like you have to experience at least once in your life. So I'm going to say Madison Square Garden, because I think you'd get to see a lot of cool stuff happening if you lived there and that was your home for an entire year. That's what I think. So I'm going MSG. I'm going Madison Square Garden. That feels right to me. Okay, that one was easy. Okay, next. Wow. Start, cut, bench. I hate these ones. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson. Come on, man. You got to cut Bijan. Sorry. Yeah, you got to cut Bijan Robinson, and that sucks because he's great, but you got to cut him for sure. And I think you got to, you know what? Actually, Derrick Henry fumbled the ball in a really, really game time. It was like game on the line. Derrick Henry with the butterfingers. So actually, I think I got to cut Derrick Henry as we speak about it right now, because that fumble was costly for sure. And normally Derrick Henry all the way. He's my starter. I love that guy. But I'm feeling like after that fumble, I can't possibly keep him on my roster at the moment. So we're going to cut Derrick Henry, start Saquon, and bench Bijan Robinson. That feels right. Just given right now in this moment, this could all change. But Derrick Henry with a very costly fumble, that one hurt. That one hurt my soul. So we're going to say cut Derrick Henry. Okay. I think she only has 2 for me, right? Only 2, I think. I think so. It's true. Andy and I were chatting. She's like, what do you have to get off your chest? Nothing. I think we all have the same sort of things to get off of our chest right now, given the state of this world. And I didn't want to spend too much time talking about everything that's happened over the last couple of days, because I think some people use sports to kind of escape life, especially when life gets really dark and things get really hard. I have a lot of things that I want to say, but I think like most people right now, I'm just a little numb to the state of everything. You remove how you voted and who you voted for from the equation. It's just what has happened over the last few days is dark and scary. And, so the off my chest segment would probably be non-sports related, but I don't think that's good for me right now. I think it's one of those where I need to allow myself to just cool off, pray about it, and we lean on sports. We lean on the one thing that unites people the most, which is sports right now, and I think that's a really good thing for us to do. So nothing really to get off of my chest per se. The only thing I have left is our betting segment. My love language is betting, as you guys know. And the only thing I really want to say is this. I'm kind of having a hard time here with this upcoming Broncos game. That's the truth, guys. Dare I say, when it comes to this upcoming Broncos Colts game, I don't feel great as a Broncos fan. I don't feel confident enough to say Broncos -2. Yes, yes, yes. Broncos money line. Yes, yes, yes. Let's go. I don't. I genuinely don't. I think this is going to be a tough one, especially considering how Danny Dimes looked in week 1. That being said, Danny Dimes was not playing this Broncos defense, okay? So you can make a case for, hey, it might be a good bet to take Daniel Jones over a half a interception. He throws an interception in this game. Say yes. Given this defense that the Broncos have, it's going to be a much different game for Danny Dimes than it was in week 1. So I'd like to think that the defense is enough, but the offense did worry me a little bit. I've got a couple of fears there. And so that's the one game I've kind of thought about in terms of betting for this weekend, and I don't feel great. I don't feel great about taking my Broncos here. But I also don't feel good enough in the Colts to take them either. This is probably a stay away. If anything, I'll probably sprinkle on some anytime touchdown scores. Oh, I'm going to sneeze soon. I'm so sick of this crap, by the way. I am so sick of this crap. If you want to really piss me off, just give me a stuffy nose. That crap pisses me off. I don't understand. You want to really double piss me off? Give me a stuffy nose that's also a runny nose. How the hell is that possible? How the hell are you stuffed up and running? Pick a side. Choose a struggle. You're pissing me off. Sorry, that felt good to get off my chest. There's my off my chest segment. Decide what you want to do, nose. You can't be stuffy and runny all at once. That doesn't make effing sense. Okay. I also had someone comment on Instagram and say, saying effing is so unprofessional. I think it's actually more professional than the alternative, if I'm being honest. I have a sailor mouth, but I just don't know if I need to be doing that here. Doesn't feel right. Okay. I don't really have bets yet for this weekend's slate. And I'm going to tell you why. Sometimes it is hard this early to give bets when you don't have the full injury reports yet. You don't know what you don't know. Maybe we'll see if Andy and I can come up with like a graphic that I can release on Sunday morning before the slate starts with a few of my bets that I really like. My only betting advice this week for you guys is stay away from the Colts Broncos game. Stay away from it. I don't feel good about it. I don't think you should feel good about it. I just think Danny Dimes playing the way that he played. My expectation is that there's some regression when he faces a better defense, which is the Denver Broncos. But I don't trust our offense enough to keep up with Danny Dimes if he does continue to play well. So it's a stay away from me. I think that's all for the show, though, you guys. And I just feel like deep in my soul, I was not in focus this whole time. Is my camera being stupid? It's possible. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I apologize for being on the sicker side and not having as much substance and things to discuss. It has just felt like a couple of heavy days. I think we can all feel that. And obviously yesterday was 9/11 and there was a school shooting in Colorado. It's just, there's a lot happening right now. Which does make me more excited for football to continue, because I do think it's a great way for us all to just forget about the issues in the world sometimes and just keep on keeping on. So I appreciate you guys tons and tons and tons for being here for another episode of Mood Swings with Liv Moods from Hawaii. I'm going to blow away. You guys see this? I'm going to blow away. I got the bird flu. I didn't actually, but Oh, Ward is out for Indy. Oh, that might make a difference there. Again, it just feels like a stay away game for me. Feels a little trappy, this one. I'm not a huge fan. So I'm going to stay away personally, but you guys do what you need to do. I'll see if we can get together, Andy and I, and come up with a little graphic so I can give you guys some bets. Thank you, Duval. I appreciate it. Yeah, I need to get better for sure. I am not feeling good, and I am super dreading my 7.5-hour flight getting home tomorrow, feeling this way. So just keep me in your thoughts and prayers. Love you long time. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Mood Swings with Liv Moods. We'll see you again on Monday, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Back in the studio. God bless. All things good again. I'll be back in the studio Mondays and Fridays, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Much love to you all. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.